32,000 crore rupees. That's how much money Sunil Singhania is responsible for as head of equity investments at Reliance Mutual Fund. He directly manages nearly a third of that cash pile, and a team of fund managers reporting to Sunil take care of the rest. Sunil is a commerce graduate and a rank-holder chartered accountant who started his career as a stockbroker. He has nearly 20 years of experience on Dalal Street and manages many of Reliance Mutual Fund's flagship schemes like Reliance Growth Fund, Reliance Long-Term Equity Fund and Reliance Power Fund. An avid traveller and photographer, Sunil is always in search of the big picture. So what is keeping him optimistic in these gloomy times?
One thing is very clear, that there has definitely been challenges, not only in this year but over the last 18 months or 24 months, both in terms of global news flow as well as the domestic macroeconomic and political situation. However, from our perspective, definitely what we are looking at is whether this is a blip in the long-term structural story of India. I think that is probably the case. And from our perspective, I think from this levels, what we are looking at is what can go right. Everyone knows what can go wrong, and that is basically being discounted by the market. So what can go right? That is what we are focusing on. So probably, looking at more positives and trying to find them and trying to see which stocks will benefit rather than being...
What do you think can go right now, primarily from a stock picking perspective?
See, if you look at the economy, we have discounted almost everything. So whether it's inflation, interest rates, government political paralysis or reforms, even on the order book side in terms of a lot of companies, we have almost discounted everything which is negative currency. I think from our perspective, what we're looking at is the market discounts the future, not the past or the present. And in the future, whether interest rates will come off, people can argue how much they will come off, but there is no argument that they will come off. Same is the case with inflation. Crude prices coming off, commodity prices coming off also is a relief, so to say, for India. And whether currency can depreciate, yes it can. But from these levels, the chances of it appreciating are more than what it can depreciate. So I think in almost all the parameters, 6 months, 12 months down the line, things will definitely be better than what they are today. How much better? That there can be a difference of opinion.
You think that we are pretty much close to the bottom of the cycle, or at least nearing it?
At least in terms of the economic cycle, yes. The challenges are going to be not more than for a few months more. Obviously, there are a lot of you can say enabling things needed to kickstart it in a way where everyone would be pleased, whether it is a push from the government, whether it is spending coming back in terms of capacity building, some luck in terms of further fall in oil prices. But yes, probably not more than few months away. So
as a fund manager then, is your focus now shifting towards capital enhancement versus capital protection? Because the last 6 to 8 months, as you pointed out, have been very rough for the market, barring of course the intermediate rally that we saw.
Capital protection can be an aim, but it never happens. It's very difficult to invest with a view of protecting capital in the equity market.
But the idea is to take on more risk, right? I mean, are you willing to take on more risk right now in the market?
Risk again is only in hindsight you come to know that you're taking more risk or less risk. But yes, from our perspective, what we're trying to do is measuring, the prices vis-a-vis the fundamentals and the future fundamentals. So, you can argue that FMCG is a defensive kind of a sector. Yes, it has huge potential, but I think it has to be looked at from that perspective. And from a fund manager perspective, and it's not only us, from any fund manager perspective, I think they would be looking at more good stocks rather than only good companies. Because the good companies can turn out to be companies which don't give you returns for a long period of time because they have been valued to perfection. So I think that has to be measured, and in a portfolio, you take some risk, you sort of negate it by taking some defensive bets, and I think that's a part of the overall portfolio strategy.
So you have stated in the past, Sunil, that you're not a big fan of defensives, and you're just highlighting that as well. In that light, how much weightage would defensives like FMCG or healthcare have in your portfolio at any given point in time? In a bear cycle as well as a bull cycle, because many times we hear fund managers come out and saying you need to have some exposure, but how much is that some exposure?
See, I can't take names of companies, but I can give you some anecdote. The largest FMCG company did not deliver any returns for 10 years from 2000 to 2010. whereas the market went up by 6-7 times. So, yes, it was defensive, it did not fall. But, you're here to make returns which are commensurate with the growth in the economy and the equity markets. What in our portfolio we have done, and that is across our funds, is that we know that, you need to have some companies which are, immune towards or less volatile in terms of the economic growth cycle. So, the consumption theme, the pharma side. And what we found out was the pharma companies had more growth potential because pharma as a sector is underpenetrated in India and there were huge export opportunities. The weak rupee also aided to their, profitability. So we have significant underweight in FMCG and we have countered that by significant overweight in pharma. And I think that has worked properly. So I think within the defenses also you'll have to see, which sectors you need to be, where there can be some upside probability, which has happened in the pharma side while being defensive, as well as also the fact that, in a portfolio, you're not being too defensive or too aggressive.
So where are you seeing a good growth value trade-off?
I think there are a lot of companies where there is this, trade-off where you can get significant growth opportunities at a significant discount to its fair values. But, it's a market where people are apprehensive. Participation is very low, both from, you can say, long-only India-dedicated funds as well as the domestics. The focus has been more towards allocation. And when the allocation happens, you tend to ignore a lot of these smaller companies or, other than the top 50, 100 companies. I think value is there. And again, in our portfolio, you have to have some large companies to give stability. But I think the alpha will be created by going a little bit down in terms of the market cap hierarchy.
But, you've also stated that you are quite bullish, so to speak, on sectors which are subject to regulatory change. Now, again, an example where, there is potential of growth, but value unlocking has not happened because that regulatory change has not come about. To that extent, are you disappointed with the way, some of these sectors have done, and disappointed purely by the fact that there hasn't been really the expected regulatory change that was supposed to come by?
I think, you're right that the biggest risk to the market today is of regulations. If you see so many sectors have got impacted, at least in the near term, by regulatory, you can say, announcements. Whether it is telecom or cable or oil and gas, fertilizers, sugar and so on and so forth. But I think within that also, you'll have to take a call of what is already built into the price and what is not built into the price. Also in some sectors, like say retail, where the regulatory, obviously announcements can lead to a big pop-up or disappointment. I think you have to stick with companies where the balance sheets are stronger, which can withstand short-term regulatory changes going against you. So I think, again, it's very easy to say and it's very difficult to actually implement. But in this current scenario, you have to definitely give a lot of weightage to companies which can survive, say, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, more of this uncertain times.
From a conviction standpoint, of this very theme, where has been your biggest disappointment and where have you been happy with the way things have shaped up?
So it's very difficult to again give a straight answer because frankly on the regulatory side there have been very few positives which have come up over the last...
Sustainable positives. You have little flare-ups here and there.
So you can't bet on that. I think the other thing which has done very well in terms of regulatory changes has been sort of the expectations of companies going private. We have sort of stayed away from that. So a lot of multinational companies are trading at 50, 100, 150, 200 Ps just because there is that expectation that the parent might take it private. I think from our perspective, yes, the option value has to be given in terms of some regulatory positives which can happen, but the fundamentals also has to justify some base level value as far as the stock is concerned. So in case there is a disappointment, you're not going to be hit as badly. And I think that has been the crux of our portfolio creation.
Okay, you've spoken about generating alpha on mid caps and small caps. The trickiest part is how do you go about picking these stocks in this kind of a market environment? Because you need to get your stock right if you want to generate that alpha.
See, one is we have different funds which have different philosophies. So it's not that only we are investing in mid caps. We have significant exposure to large caps and those funds are also doing very, very well. On the mid cap side, I think you have to be a little bit more, you can say, careful in your portfolio creation. And that is done by having larger number of stocks. Each stock having a limit as far as the exposure from a particular fund is concerned. So in case something doesn't work out for 1 or 2 stocks, the overall portfolio is to that extent immune from huge volatility. So I think you have to diversify more, vis-a-vis say a large cap. So in a large cap fund, for example, we'll have say 30 stocks. in our mid-cap focus fund, we'll have 60, 65 stocks. I think that is how you have to just try and create portfolios to match the volatility.